On today's Patriot Nation podcast, we'll be breaking down what was an absolute disaster of a game on Monday night, and also talking about the biggest game of the season for the Patriots, the most important game of the season, a do or die situation in New Jersey on Sunday afternoon. But first, we're going to be starting next week with a new intro song. We have a brand new intro song with help from a fellow teacher of mine who has a fantastic voice. Credit to Matt for finding the audio, and then we got a little voiceover work for us. So we're going to start every show with it from now on, but I figured I'd give you an intro and just warn you before it comes. But here we go.
You're listening to the Patriot Nation podcast, presented by Pat's Pulpit.
We're up in the production value here, week over week, Pat.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So that's a good one. Shout out to Mr. Jakes for that one. Mr. Steven Jakes, appreciate you. Came out good. It came out good. Came out much better than the Patriots game on Monday night did. That was a freaking disaster. There's a million things we're going to talk about that game. But before we get into it, Matt, listen, before I get into all my ranting, because you know it's coming. Before I get into all my ranting, you were mentioning before, off air, that you kind of see and understand why Belichick made the decision he made. And so since nobody really has talked about that, because that is not the conversation that anyone's having right now, since no one's really talked about that, why don't you kind of bring that up now? We'll start with that because I think that that's kind of an important thing to talk about.
Yeah, this is one of those, I feel like in my spare time since Monday night, I've been going through the film and also I was just reading all the comments, reading what everybody has to say about this and all the reports, trying to put the puzzle pieces together. And the best I can figure it out is that Mac got medically cleared to play last week and can do everything. He's just in pain doing it. So he convinced Bill to say, "Hey, we're gonna play," but they knew that there was going to be some kind of rotation because Mac is not at completely full strength yet. And they wanted to make sure it's, I guess, kind of treating it like a pitcher. Like he's going to go out there and once he's tired, we're going to put the next guy in, except you can rotate. And the quarterbacks knew this. My guess is that the coaches kind of thought this is not that big of a deal. The offense has been practicing with both of these guys all season long. It's not going to matter which one of them is back there to them because they still got to do their job. So we're not really going to pass it along. And that was the game plan going into it. Was we're going to let Mac play as much as he can. And when he can't play, Zappy's going to go in and handle everything. And we think Zappy can win us the game, but Mac is better, gives us a better chance to win. So we're going to put him out there as much as possible. Then second drive, you've got Mac taking a sack on a play that ended up not counting. There were offsetting penalties on it, but he kind of goes down a little bit awkwardly, and it seemed like he had the corner on the defensive lineman and just goes down anyway. You got Zappy after that with his helmet on the sideline. He looks like he's ready to come in. They don't have him come in yet. Third drive is the one that ends in the pick, but the throw before the pick, I tweeted out a video of it earlier. You can see on the throw, Mac looks very uncomfortable on that front foot. He's wincing a little bit, and my feeling looking at all this was that Mac was sore and they were probably going to pull him after that third drive anyway. It just so happened that there was a pick, which kind of made the decision look the way it did. And they were going to let Zappy play, and Zappy came out and played well. So you're not going to pull him at that point. You're going to let him start the second half. And then the way things went, the Bears get a field goal before the half. I think field goal on the first drive. Pats go 3 and out with Zappy. Another field goal. Pats go 3 and out again. So Zappy gets 2 drives, 6 plays total in the second half. And then the Bears score a touchdown. And all of a sudden, the game is entirely out of reach. And there is no reason to put an injured quarterback back in the game. If the game's close, you're willing to risk it because you need the win. But at that point, there's no reason to do it. So with Mac being named the starter now for next week, I think that pretty much clears up that, at least to the coaches right now in this moment, there isn't a QB controversy. You're not rushing Mac back to play in this game and letting him play not at full strength unless you think he's the better guy. They're trying to win football games here. Like
Right.
you're not putting him out there unless you think he's better. And there are issues with Mac Jones's game right now. There's a lot to work out there. It's far from a polished product. But I don't think we should look at an 11 drop back sample size and decide that was the straw that broke the camel's back and they're going to Zappy here. I think it's more complicated than that. And Bill is never going to be the one to comment on this stuff a lot. And that is even more so the case when there's an injury in the mix.
Right.
You don't know what the way players' bodies are going to respond. He's always deferred to the medical guys on that first, and then he makes a decision. So I don't think he wants to get in the middle of anything. He's going to defer. It comes off a little weird. He could have handled it better. But this isn't as insane as it looked Monday night when we were all watching the game.
Yeah. I mean, I just thought it was a terrible idea to start him. I just thought it was a bad idea to start him, primarily because of what you said, right? We knew he was going to be in pain. We knew it. Any sane person would know that he was going to be in pain no matter what. And sure, it's a pain tolerance thing. Fine. But, a high ankle sprain is 4 to 6 weeks. It had been exactly 4 weeks. Matter of fact, I'm sorry, that's not true. It had been 4 weeks and a day since he had suffered the high ankle sprain. There was no reason to rush him out when you have the most important game of the season coming up on Sunday, and now Mac Jones has a short week to deal with that.
Yep.
Now, maybe you said, okay, well, we're going to get you out there and get your feet wet a little bit, and we'll get why? It doesn't benefit anything, right? Now, maybe you say, oh, maybe he's magically fine. Maybe he looks great in the first 3 drives, and we're up 21-0, and it doesn't matter. But it's just like to me, that was stupid. It was stupid to put him out there on Monday night when you knew you were going to pull him, and the crowd, like, this is where sometimes you got to have a little bit of awareness of the situation. You know that the Boston fan base is crazy and stupid, and we're going to get to the fans. Don't you worry. We're going to get to the fans. But you have to understand that they're dumb. They want Bailey Zappi. They're already finished with Mac Jones, and they want Bailey Zappi, which is incredibly stupid, but that's what they wanted. He had played great for 2 games. Yeah. And they were like, this is our guy. We want this. He's the next guy. You have to understand that situation and realize that Mac's probably not going to be able to play the whole game. Even if he plays well, he's probably not going to be able to play the whole game. What are we doing setting him out there? We're setting him up for failure. And I know he wants to be out there, but it's the coach's responsibilities to step back and say, okay, we know you want to be out there. You're medically cleared. You're still not playing.
Yeah. And I don't automatically object to the idea of saying, hey, we think this guy gives us a much better chance to win this game. So even if we can only get him for half the possessions, let's use him for that. I at least see the reasoning. But
right,
if you're going to do that, I think you have to set expectations internally. You have to let people know in advance, hey, this is the plan. Mac is the guy for this game, but there's going to be some plays here where he's not going to be able to do it. And we're going to have Zappy in there.
Right.
And he might be tired. He might be hurt, whatever it is. And I'm not like, it's tough with the fan part of things because you can't let the fans dictate what you're doing on the field, but
right.
Also the players are people with emotions and you got to protect them. And if you go back, this is the Bill Belichick origin story. Back in Cleveland in the 90s, this is where he got into issues because he did what he thought was best with the quarterback position and the fans did not understand it.
Right.
And Bill was actually, you look back, he was right. But that's not the way it came across. And this is his style of management works very well when you're winning. And it doesn't come across as well when things aren't going well.
Right.
Which I think is a little bit of a double standard from the fan perspective.
Yeah.
But it's the way the world works. It happens in everything. It's just kind of how people react to stuff.
Right.
So I'm glad that they named a starter for this game in advance. I think that helps. And I think maybe it was naive, but my guess is from the coach's perspective, it was Mac was the starter all season long, started this season, was a first-round pick last year, won accolades. He's a team captain. Right. Nobody internally is gonna doubt this. That's probably their expectation. But
right. But again, I I don't know. I just think if we're walking into a game now, listen, it's a very different situation if Mac Jones is a wide receiver, and we're saying, hey, it's limited snaps, like he can't go 100%. But like Amon-Ra St. Brown's a great example. Last week when they played Detroit, they knew Amon-Ra couldn't play every snap, but they're like, hey, let's get him out there. He'll play 10, 15 snaps. We'll just get him out there, and then if he breaks one, great. Because he's the best player we have on offense. So, like, let's just see what happens, They didn't do that with Mac Jones, right?
Yeah.
They didn't say that. You can't necessarily do that with the starting quarterback, right? It's not the place to do it, And like you said, Jacoby Myers didn't know. Trent Brown didn't know. Ramondre Stevenson didn't know. None of these guys knew that the plan was to go to Bailey Zappi after Mac Jones. That Mac wasn't going to play the whole game and that Mac was going to come out at some point.
That report
That's
only
stupid.
came out like minutes before kickoff when Schefter tweeted it out.
Right.
Yeah, and I think Jeff Howe had a good piece. I think Jeff Howe has covered this entire saga incredibly well for anybody that's subscribed to The Athletic. His writing alone is worth the price. He's
Right.
covered this very, very well. The way Schefter handled it I thought was really interesting too. He basically dropped like minutes before kickoff on ESPN, like, hey, both of these guys are playing tonight after the whole lead up to everything. And it looked like, all right, Mac is going to be the guy, which it was, Schefter has good sources, but he also, I think, is not ESPN's best reporter for stuff in New England.
Right.
So when that came out, I was kind of questioning it, but you watch, and it's also funny that we're talking about Mac and the health of his ankle. He was the leading rusher for the team. And
I know. Yeah.
He can do everything. He just he was in pain.
And you wonder, like, I almost wonder. So Garrett Gilbert doesn't get pulled up for the game, and the deadline to do that was Saturday, right? So you had to pull Garrett Gilbert up on Saturday, or no, Sunday, right? The day before the game. Is it the day before the game?
Yeah, I think it's 4:00 the day before the game. Something like that.
So
it might be later with a prime time, but something. Yeah.
Maybe, but either way, right? Saturday comes and goes. Garrett Gilbert doesn't get pulled up, so you say, okay, fine. Now maybe Mac, I don't know, took a step back, right? On Monday morning, woke up, ankle didn't feel great Monday morning, and they're like, oh crap, now he's in getting treatment, trying to make it feel better, blah, blah, so on and so forth. And then like now they're leading up to the game, and they're like, oh crap, he's not gonna be able to make it the whole game, right? So we're gonna have to put something out that says, yeah, no, Zappy's gonna have to play at some point. But again, it's just the timing for me. It's just the timing. Like it was just like it looks so bad.
Is weirder than it needed to be, which I think is kind of the issue here.
But I think it comes back to my original point where, like, even if it was a situation where Mac took a step back on Monday, well, if he was close enough where he could take a step back and only be able to last a few series, he shouldn't have been on the field in the first place. Like, he just shouldn't have been,
Yep. Yeah, and that's the thing at the end of the day is I think I understand Bill's aversion to this, but you have to have some kind of a plan and a structure going into this. I understand you have to be able to adjust on the fly and versatility, and you shouldn't just be locked into things for the sake of being locked into them. That's kind of the antithesis of the Bill Belichick experience.
Right.
But leadership and hierarchy on the field kind of matters, especially at the quarterback position. And I hopefully we look back on this as one weird game in the season and not something. We're going to find out because I think the other aspect of this is, and they named the starting quarterback for this week, but they haven't said Mac is the guy for the year or anything like that, which also may feel like he doesn't need to say that.
I mean, maybe, but when Cam was playing so horrendously bad, he said it over and over and over and over and over again when people kept asking about Stidham, right? And he just kept saying, Cam's the guy, Cam's our guy, Cam's the guy, Cam's our guy, Cam's our quarterback.
And I think a big part of that too is that the Zappy is already better than anything we saw from Stidham.
Right.
Which that changes the decision. It was one of those where it didn't really matter how Cam played. Stidham wasn't showing you anything that showed he could be better. Like if he's in practice, there's nothing. That's probably a little bit different here. Although Zappy did not look good. Neither one of these guys looked good. No. Zappy basically had 2-3 plays when everybody was juiced up and the building was rocking. Like that's not.
And everyone was wide open. I mean, he made two nice throws. He made a really nice throw down the left sideline to Devontae Parker, And he also made a really nice throw on a slant route to Devontae Parker in traffic. I
Yep.
think that was that
Mm-hmm.
in the second quarter still? I think it was before the
Think so.
Myers fumble, right? Was it
Yep.
right before the Myers fumble? So
Something like
that
that.
was a nice throw. He made two nice throws. The Ramondre one, I could have made that throw,
Yep.
and
And the Jacoby
then
Myers throw was a bad throw.
it was a bad throw. Right. Right. It was a bad throw. And
Yeah.
so, but Myers was so wide open that he was able to dive, get
Yeah.
up, and then still score the touchdown. So it was like, you think about how
Yeah.
wide open the guy was. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
And
that type of stuff.
yeah, and think about how differently this entire discussion looks. If Devontae Parker high points that ball for a touchdown on the first drive of the season,
Yep.
and that throw from Zappy to Parker in the Cleveland game early on is one that Parker doesn't come down with or that gets picked or anything
Right.
like that was third down. So
Yeah.
you force a punt or whatever. Like Parker has made a couple really good catches this season, and the one time he didn't come down with it on a jump ball happened to be when Mac was playing and happened to be in a bad situation and happened to be a missed call and all of this stuff. And
Right.
it's like football is
Right.
situational. And that's all three of those plays, the catch he made on Monday and the catch he made against the Browns and the catch he didn't make against Miami were all incredibly similar plays.
Right. Right. And that's the thing. Like, people say, it was back shoulder and was underthrown. The one last night was back shoulder, and for Monday night was underthrown, and he had to jump over the guy to go get it. Like he went up and got it. Unlike in Miami where he didn't, and part of the reason he didn't is because he was getting interfered with, right? And so it's like, it is what it is, right? And unfortunately, football is a results based game.
Yeah.
From pretty much everybody, it's a results-based game. So if the pass is complete, it was a good play. If the pass is incomplete, it was a bad play. And
Yeah.
it's very black and white for a lot of people. Now, listen, we try to look past that, right? A lot of analytics try to look past that. But to the common fan and to, the common person watching, it's a
Gotta get results.
results-based league, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, and I know you want to talk about the fans. I just want to
yeah.
say one more kind of thing here before we get to it. It might sound crazy, but the first half of this game was not that different from what happened in the Lions game.
Yeah,
It just
it's true.
the plays didn't bounce through. I mean, you think about it. The Bears on one possession had a ball batted at the line by Anthony Jennings on a screen, which he's not going to pick that. But if he somehow manages to and makes a crazy play, that's a touchdown for the Patriots.
Yep.
They fumbled on a play. Oh, sorry, though, that was the possession beforehand.
The Bears fumbled 5 times.
Yeah. So the first possession of the game for the Bears, they fumbled it. Patriots couldn't get on it, and they kicked the field goal. And Jack Jones came about this far away from blocking the kick.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what happened in Miami. They go down, they force a strip sack. Miami lands on the ball, kicks a field goal. Cody Davis almost blocked it, and they're up 3-0. Same exact thing. The second possession got a pass batted down. I saw you retweet the Marcus Jones play where he has some really good recovery speed to break it up. He got both hands on that. That could have been a pick.
Right.
And the next play, they forced a Justin Fields fumble, and it goes out of bounds on the third down sack. And it's like any of those plays goes differently. We're talking about this a little bit differently. Any one of those, a couple offensive penalties on the first two possessions that really, really hurt them from Trent Brown, if one of those doesn't happen, then we might be talking about the entirety of this game differently. And then that Bears game, the Bears drive, when they drove down, scored the touchdown, and made it 10-0, there was a couple holding calls that I think it was holding to the same level of things that were called at other points of the game. One was particularly egregious on Lawrence Guy, where he got like dragged away from the play by his shoulders.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you're complaining about the refs, you're losing. Like I'm never going to blame the refs
of course,
for a loss.
right.
But the Patriots team right now is not good enough to overcome a bunch of 50-50 plays not going their way. They are as good as the outcome of those close plays.
Yeah, and there was a play with Fields too. I still am in shock that they missed it, but Fields is running towards the sideline, and I don't know if it was Marcus Jones. I think it was Marcus Jones that was over there trying to stop him from getting a first down. And not only was getting held, the receiver was grasping his face mask as he was blocking him and holding him. And it was like, the ref is standing right there. How could you possibly miss that? You're looking at the sideline and he's standing right there. It was crazy. And so, but again, like you say, I mean, this game has nothing to do with the refs, but the Patriots aren't good enough to overcome those 50-50. I mean, you say it perfectly. Like, they're not good enough. They're not good enough. They were good enough to do that before. They're not anymore. Like, if
Yep.
they're turning the ball over, they lose. If they're forcing turnovers, they win. That's what happens. That's the way it
Yep.
goes on
Yep.
this team right now, you know?
Yep.
And even like
Yeah.
the Trent Brown holding play on the first drive was a 5-yard offsides, no big deal. On the second drive, that's a second down play, and it was defensive holding. That's an automatic first down. So now you have another first down to deal with, and you've moved it a little bit further. So that's
And
the
then he
type of
had a
stuff where
false
it's like you
start and
can't.
moved to 3rd and 5 back
Right,
to a 3rd and 10. They called a run there instead,
right.
which I don't know if you want to get into the fan stuff before we talk about the offensive line here,
Yeah.
but
So
the offensive line is a concern.
yeah. So the fan stuff for me, I'm wearing. I wore this shirt intentionally. It says the North remembers. Okay, the North remembers, and partly because Game of Thrones, not really Game of Thrones, but House of Dragons ended on Sunday. But also because Mac Jones will remember, and I will freaking remember. Okay, that was absolutely disgusting. That is might be the only time in my life that I've been embarrassed to be a Patriots fan. I was actually embarrassed to be at the stadium on Monday night. It was embarrassing. It was a shame. It was sickening. It made me sick. Like, to hear those people, the Patriots go 3-and-out on the first drive. Mac Jones goes 1-for-1 with a pass to Ramondre Stevenson that was a what's it called, a screen pass that goes for -1 or something like that. Mac Jones goes 1-for-1 on the first drive, and they get booed off the field after a 3-and-out. You're booing Mac Jones after a 3-and-out, the first drive of the game. Now, this is a guy who, and remember back to the Baltimore game, right? In that 2-point conversion that didn't happen, but Damian Harris has the ball. He pitches it back to Mac. Mac dives into the end zone through 2 defenders. Like, that was an amazing play by Mac Jones. That's the type of guy he is. He pushed his way back. He had a high ankle sprain and missed 0 weeks of practice. He was at practice every single week since his high ankle sprain. You don't see that happen. And so now, after they make the playoffs with him last year, and he hasn't played well this year. That's fine. But then you're gonna boo him after 3 freaking plays? What the hell's wrong? Then the second drive happens. Again, they miss a few more plays, more penalties on the offensive line. Now you're chanting Zappy when he comes off the field. I mean, are you kidding me? Now you're 2 drives in, and not only are you booing them, you're chanting for the backup quarterback. The level of disgust, it was horrifying. Then, of course, he throws the pick, which was a bad throw. There's no way around it. It was a bad throw. 100%. You won't catch any argument from me. But then you're booing him like crazy again. Then the crowd goes nuts when Zappy goes in. Well, guess what? You got what you freaking wanted because Bailey Zappi sucked in the second half. He sucked in the second half. You saw what Bailey Zappi really was when the plays weren't working. When guys weren't wide open, Bailey Zappi couldn't make a throw to save his life.
When you aren't playing a defense that's one of the 2 worst in the NFL.
Yep.
And I really, really like Bailey Zappi. He's a great guy. He's
Yes.
already better than we could have expected him to be as a mid-round pick. He's
Yep.
awesome. I'm gonna cheer for that guy as loud as I've cheered for anybody. Because he seems like a great guy, a fun player, teammates love him.
Right.
But this isn't a TV show where you're picking between which side you want to win. You're rooting for your favorite character. These are human people out there trying to do a job and trying their best. Again, I get booing your own team. You can do it when it's obviously poor effort or when things aren't working and it's veterans and it's leaders and all that and expectations are high. It's exactly what it's a guy who's trying his hardest playing through a freaking ankle injury, trying to help this team and getting no help from his offensive line through the first 3 series. Come on now. It's ridiculous.
It was sickening. And
it is embarrassing.
I tweeted out at the moment, anyone that's chanting Zappy needs to leave immediately. And I think I said, take Miles Bryant with you. But, right. And then, of course, Zappy leads them down the field, scores 2 touchdowns. And then everyone's like, oh, Pat, see what's happening. And then they have 130 yards of offense on the next 6 drives. And Zappy turns the ball over 3 times. And it's just this is what you're going to get from Bailey Zappi if everything isn't perfect. Yes, great. They let it down. And it, after that second drive, man, I'm like, maybe he's just a wizard. Like maybe they just play better with him. I don't know. Like I have no explanation for it. Why is Ramondre wide open in the flat? Why is Jacoby Myers the only person past the 25-yard line? Like what the hell's going on? Then Miles Bryant gets a freaking interception. Are you kidding me? Like
Yeah.
like what the hell is going on? It was just like one of those like karma things where you're like, that's weird. And then everything came back to earth and they scored, 23 unanswered points and the Patriots couldn't move the ball or pick up a first down or not turn the ball over. And it was just like, my goodness, and he would have thrown a pick six. If it wasn't Tyquan Thornton that he was throwing to, it would have been a pick six because Thornton got up and tackled the guy. Right. And it was just one of those things for me. Like these fans are the same fans that have been cheering for Mac. They're the same fans. And I get it. I understand. I understand that, like, it's the new shiny toy. And around here, anytime we see a backup go in, we're like, oh, he's the next Brady. He's the next Tom Brady. Look at this. Mac Jones did it last year to Cam Newton. He's the next Tom Brady. He came in. He's the backup. He's going to be amazing. Bailey Zappi does the same thing. It's not how it works, people.
No.
It's not. It's not how it works.
And you can play with the shiny new toy without tossing the old one into the trash can. You're allowed to have more than one.
Yes. Yes, that is correct. And it's just like, I was as mad as I was at Belichick, and I was furious at Belichick for what he did. I thought he left Mac out to dry. I thought he did Mac real dirty. I thought he really did him dirty. And I thought based on some of the comments from the players after the game, they felt the same way too. And so
Jacoby Myers in particular, I think
Jacoby Myers absolutely in particular. And of course he kind of clarified that and said, well, it was really more the fans. But like when he said it, he wasn't talking about the fans when he said how Mac got treated. So, I was pissed at Belichick, but the fan base was just like, what are you doing? Right. And we're going to get into Mac Jones. And I think it's a good time to talk about Mac Jones, but be better. Please be better. Right. And this is part of the issue that I have with Belichick now making that decision. If Mac Jones plays poorly on Sunday against the Jets and they lose, what the hell is going to happen on Sunday against the Colts? I mean, the fans are going to be out for blood.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is not fair to anybody involved in the situation. No. The ideal here is Mac goes and plays well on Sunday. Everybody realizes that he makes a couple big time throws in there. People realize, all right, well, I don't know if he's the franchise guy, but he's better than the other guy. This is our guy right now. You give him a nice round of applause to start the game, and we all move on and pretend that this never happened, because that's the best case here. Because otherwise, what basically just happened is your Mac Jones just walked in and watched his girlfriend cheat on him. Like,
right. And I
think that's how this is gonna feel.
Right. And my thought. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say props. It seems like in the couple of days since people have in the locker room and around the team have kind of rallied and bounced back pretty well. And they're mentally tough in that room.
Yes.
If Bill Belichick's estimation of this is that I know that I can make these decisions and ignore what's going on with the crowd because I know my players can handle it. If that was his thought process, based on what we've seen so far, it seems like he evaluated them right, and I will give him props for that aspect. They do seem to be a mentally tough group in that respect.
And you're not wrong. I just think, you're risking kind of this unwarranted stuff that's going on. And I had thought at the time that you ruined his career, that his career in New England was essentially over. You can't bench him in the middle of the game like that. You can't without any sort of, explanation. And I know, it was part of the plan. What are you talking? And then after the game, like, to not hear that same stuff. A story needs to come out this week, written by Mike Reese or Jeff Howe or one of those guys that's really keyed in, saying exactly what you said at the beginning of this podcast. Yeah. Mac was really hurting. He took a turn for the worse on Monday morning. They lost their ability to activate Gilbert. They were forced to start Mac, but then they knew on Monday that they were going to have to play Zapp because Mac couldn't make it through the game. And it just so happened that it ended up being the third drive of the game, and it looked awful, but it was like it was an injury thing and he had to come out because he couldn't play any longer, right? A story like that has to come out this week, because if it doesn't, the fans are just sitting there looking at it saying, well, they pulled Mac because he sucked, and then Zappy went and he sucked, and so now Mac's the quarterback again. Like, it just like that's not enough, you know?
And the other way can come out is talking about how he's a tough kid and he battled and they thought he could handle it, which I think we've also, to an extent, already seen. I think we saw Andrew Callahan talking about that and a couple other guys, which is, I mean, it's what you want in a franchise quarterback. You want a guy who's going to bounce back and battle through stuff. So I'll give him props there. I will say, if we want to talk about what was going on around him, his teammates did not make it easy for Mac Jones. I was going through the play-by-play, and I watched all the Mac's drop backs again, just trying to get a feel for it. And it's just 1st and 10, run for a no gain. So that turns into 2nd and 10.
Right.
Mac misses a throw there, overthrows it a little bit. I know one of the announcers or the analysis guys was actually talking about how that was on Tyquan Thornton for being in the wrong spot.
That play didn't count.
It didn't end up counting.
But
he did miss the throw.
Yes.
But it's like, all right, you miss your first throw back, whatever. Next play is a screen pass that gets entirely blown up. And now all of a sudden you're in 3rd and 11, which Mac just takes off and scrambles. And there wasn't a lot going on there. It's 3rd and 11. There's not a lot you're usually going to be able to do on that unless you have defenders blowing coverages, which I know we're going to talk about the defense later in this.
Yeah.
And then you get to the second possession and you pick up yards on 1st down. 2nd down, you have that holding penalty on Trent Brown. So that washes out a defensive holding.
Yep.
And then you have on 2nd down. Yeah, 2nd down, you have a nice play action drawn up for Mac. Nobody open. He has to dump it off to Damian Harris for 2 yards. But you're in 3rd and manageable, 3rd and 5. And then a false start forces you back into 3rd and 10. And you have to run. So you were kind of talking about that. But Mac really has not done anything wrong through this stretch. And because of everything going on around him, you're already 2 possessions in. You've essentially only had 6 real plays, and you're down 10-0 before you see the ball again. And then they had, by number of plays, the longest drive that they had all day. Mac misses that throw to Tyquan Thornton because Trent Brown can't hold a block for save his life. He's got a guy in his lap.
Yeah.
And he should probably hit that throw. I'll also note I forget who was, another analysis guy was talking about how we thought Tyquan got held on that route and got slowed up. Jacoby Myers came over asking for a flag. So tough there, but you get yourself to 3rd and 5 after a run. He scrambles, another great play. Then another run, you pick up some yards. He hits Hunter Henry with that throw, which was amazing. That was
real nice play.
Really, really nice play. That is not the play we've seen Bailey Zappi make at any point through this.
Right.
That was actually a really good throw on a nice little pattern there. And then another scramble, which that was the only play where Max scrambled where I had a little bit of an issue with it. Because on 2nd and 9, I thought he had a guy open. He could have taken a shot. But you get to 3rd and 1. You're not really going to complain about that.
Right.
They pick it up, which I thought was actually, I don't think they got that. I think they got a favorable spot on that one.
It was close, but yeah.
You take it. And then the 1st and 10 is that play I was talking about where Mac looked injured. And it's a dump off to Damian Harris. Damian Harris drops it. It should be 2nd and 5 instead it's 2nd and 10.
And so the pick. And that play, I want to talk about that play because people were talking about how he missed Devontae Parker on the left sideline. And you're right that he did initially. But the thing is that he looks open. He's not open. First of all, it's not his first read. And second of all,
3 quarterbacks that can make that throw.
Right. And the thing is that safety's coming over the top. If he throws it up there for Parker, it's getting picked off. It's getting picked off. So you don't make that throw unless you see it immediately and you can get it in there right over the corner as soon as he passes the corner before that safety comes in. If it's not your first read, you can't make that throw, right? Maybe Josh Allen makes that throw. Maybe Josh Allen makes that throw. But nobody else in the league makes that throw. And if the timing isn't exactly right, it's a guaranteed interception. If Harris catches that ball, that's what, a 6-yard gain or something like that? Like now you're looking at 2nd and 4. He's not even attempting that throw to Jonnu Smith, which was a horrendous decision. Just a horrendous decision. And that's
exactly the kind of decision we've talked about.
And that's the thing. Like the biggest issue that I have, and this is one of the things that Jesus Christ, who was the freaking terror? Who was the terrible safety that kept getting beat deep? He got beat deep in the Seahawks game twice in like 2013.
Tavon Wilson.
Tavon Wilson. Okay. Error repeaters, right? Belichick talks about this all the time. You cannot be an error repeater. Just don't make the same mistake over and over again. Like, if you're going to make mistakes, you're going to make mistakes. It's going to be fine. But when you make that mistake, you need to learn from the mistake. You need to move on, and you need to not make that mistake again. And the issue is right now, Mac Jones is not doing that. Now, it's his first game back. He played 3 series. So, like, he's still a little bit rusty coming back. Fine. Okay, I'll chalk that one up as a mistake. But if I see another one of those where he just kind of throws it up and it gets picked off, it just gets to a point where you're like, dude, you can't keep making that throw. You can't.
And that's the play. Like, if he loses his job in all of this,
Right.
that right there is the play. I don't care about any of the other dropbacks. I thought he was at worst fine in the other stuff, and I think by and large there wasn't really an opportunity for him to do anything with those. I think he made the most of what was available, and there wasn't much. It's that throw, and yeah, it's not great. I will say one other thing that I think was a little bit concerning. He looked uncomfortable mentally with the offensive line. And this is something we talked about going back to the preseason, which this seems to be new this year. He had issues at the end of last season, throwing picks and all that. This was not one of them.
Yeah.
And we have seen the issues with this offensive line. Most of the time in the pass protection, the line is good. But when they're bad, it's really bad.
Real bad.
And my guess is that was probably happening in practice, and he got a little bit skittish. Then it happens in the preseason games, and it's reinforced. And then you go down to Miami, and however many possessions in second, third possession is when that strip sack happens, and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm right to be scared. And he doesn't get over that until the Baltimore game, which was his best game of the year until the wheels fell off, and in some ways the best game of his career until the wheels fell off there.
Right.
And then he gets hurt at the end of it. And he's back to being a little bit skittish in the pocket.
Well, and again, the wheels fall off of that game. But if Parker actually runs a route, that pass probably doesn't get picked off in the end zone. And if Nelson Agholor doesn't fumble, then, like, they maybe still win that game, right? And then you're looking at Mac Jones saying, hey, he fought through the adversity. They still won, blah, 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 all this other stuff. So that's the thing for me. Brad mentioned Trent Brown being absolutely atrocious on Monday. He was terrible. Right, he was terrible.
Have they gone a single game this season where one of the tackles was not off? I think the Ravens game is the only game this season where they've gotten serviceable performances from both tackles.
When you had mentioned that you thought David Andrews had a really bad game, and I think Cole Strain struggled too.
Yeah, Mike Reese picked up on that too. He was talking about it, especially the first couple possessions. He just plays where he's just not picking anybody up in the running game too. That was the biggest reason why they weren't able to move the ball in the first couple possessions, and that's where this team has struggled all since the end of the Brady era, is that if they can't play with a lead, that's it. Do you know the last game where they trailed at any point and ended up winning it?
Oh my God. I don't know when.
It's the Panthers game last year. We're coming up on a full year.
Dude. I mean, that's unbelievable. That's literally, you have to score first or you lose. Like, it's just
exactly, and that's the tough thing with this team. It's like, all right, the Bears go down and kick that field goal on that first drive, and the game's not over, but it kind of feels like it's over,
right?
And that comes with the lack of consistency here.
Right.
Feels like you can't rely on all 11 players to make average or better plays for 3 plays in a row.
Right, which is not good.
Yeah,
which is not good. And so,
yeah. Here's something for you. Every single drive the Patriots had that lasted more than 4 plays on Monday night ended in a turnover.
Oh my Lord. That's
and it's 3 and out, 3 and out, then the Mac pick, and then touchdown, 4 plays and 3 plays. Then 3 plays fumble, 3 and out, 3 and out, and then 2 zappy picks on 8 and 7 play drives.
Jeez, that's just terrible. And that's, I mean, you can't win turning the ball over, of course. But one thing we have to talk about before we switch over to the defense, because we're going to switch over to the defense And I think we're going to be a little bit more brief with it because we're 40 minutes in at this point already. But
I could go 2 hours.
yeah, I know, me too. But it's getting late. It's a school night. So, but listen, I think the big thing for me is that, the coaching, right? Bailey Zappi can say whatever the hell he wants on Gresham Zoe. I'm sorry, but or whatever show he was on. I don't know what show he was on. Doesn't matter. The midday show on the other one, Mego and them. He can say whatever he wants. There is a 0% chance that the same calls are being made with Mac Jones in at quarterback as they are with Bailey Zappi in at quarterback. And why are they making the game easier? I know why they're making the game easier for Bailey Zappi because he's not as good of a quarterback. But why aren't they making the game easier for Mac Jones? I don't understand why they're not running the same plays. If guys are wide open on the plays you're calling for Bailey Zappi, I mean, think about what they did in the last few games. How many guys they had wide open? How many good plays they had? Look at the Hunter Henry touchdown from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He was all by himself. It was a great play call, and they're not doing any of that with Mac Jones, driving me insane.
Well, I think some of that has to do with the defenses too, because they actually, these two guys, I think, have the same number of play action plays drawn up for them. Somehow, I didn't feel like that watching it, but that's what the stats are saying, and it's just the guys were happy. I think it's a little bit of chance here that the plays that the Bears defense blew happened to be the ones where Zappi was in, and part of that's probably the emotion in the stadium and the moment being supercharged, but they called one of those play action plays where you got the guard pulling and all that for Mac out of the shotgun. And that was the play where he had to dump it off to Damian Harris for 2 yards because there's nobody open. Why these guys aren't getting open for that, I don't know. And it was a different concept, but the same stuff they usually run. It's a little, they call concepts that ask Mac to make higher difficulty throws because he can make the throws. And it's more complex for the defense to handle, where they have more stuff they got to deal with. It's a small sample size. Mac got 11 dropbacks, and 2 of them didn't even end up counting because they were penalties, and 4 of them had basically no chance because of the execution of the guys around him. And it's all right. He had 5 plays where he had an opportunity, and 3 of those he scrambled on. So now you're down to 2 actual passing plays where he had a real chance to make a play.
Right.
And that's the pick in the Hunter Henry play.
It's not enough. Not enough.
No.
And even the pick, he's in trouble. There's guys in his face, So it's like it's gonna have to get better. I think the play calling does have to improve. I was impressed the last few games. I haven't been super impressed with what they've done with Mac under center. And again, there's a multitude of reasons for that. But to me, especially if he's struggling, make it easier. You don't have to make it harder. Just because he can make those throws doesn't mean you want to ask him to make them all the time. You don't have to. You could just make them easier, and that's part of it for me, is that I do think that's the case. Now, there's one question I want to get to before we get to the defense, because we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get to the defense, another lost soul here is asking about if the Pats are going to make any trades at the NFL trade deadline. Of course, that happens after next week's game, but that will have already happened by the time we get to next week's show. Obviously not the instant reaction, but next week's show. I think they're going to trade Nelson Aguilar, and I think they're going to trade Isaiah Wynn. I think they're going to trade both those guys. If someone will take them, I think they're going to move both of those guys, because Isaiah Wynn got benched. He's hurt, but he also got benched for Marcus Cannon. And, although the offensive line didn't play great, I didn't hear one thing about Marcus Cannon. And usually when you don't hear a guy's name, it's pretty good. So he played okay. He wasn't amazing, but he played okay. Right? And so, if you can survive with Cannon at right tackle for the season, you're trading Isaiah Wynn because you can get something back for him. Someone thinks, hey, if I give up a 5th-round pick, I can get something back for this guy.
Yeah. Just is back now too, which helps out your depth. You probably don't want to start him, but he might be better than Cannon. That I'm not sure about. Cannon is only fine, but I could see Wynn going. There's rumors about people being interested in Aguilar. I know he has an injury, but he only played 3 snaps. Thornton starting over him.
Yeah.
Which, let me tell you, with slightly better quarterback and offensive line play, Tyquan Thornton might already have 5 touchdowns this year with what we're seeing because he's burning guys.
He smoked that guy, smoked him, and that was a
Yeah.
touchdown. If Mac had a half a second more, that's a touchdown, right?
Yeah.
And again, if Mac gets a
7
half a second more on that play, how different does this game look with an 80-yard touchdown bomb to Tyquan Thornton, right? So like,
yeah,
that's the type of stuff that that you can't, that you don't see coming. I don't think they're going to make anything outside of that. I don't think they're going to add anyone unless they can.
I would say.
Go ahead.
I'd say we have a couple injury situations to monitor. David Andrews, Christian Barmore, and now Kyle Duggar.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if they were doing a player swap or a pick swap or something to get depth at some of these positions. If they, the defensive tackles, like we haven't gotten to the defense yet. Defensive tackles have not played well. Linebackers have not played well. And I think most importantly, when Kyle Duggar isn't out there as a safety, they don't have a heavy hitter from the second level.
Correct.
Phillips and Peppers are good, but they don't bring that same force. I don't know if you can get a guy like that in the trade market at this point if you're just looking for depth, but they might explore adding another run defender or two on the back end. I will say, I don't think it's going to happen, but I love the thought of them bringing in Bradley Chubb as a guy who could be on the market, and Bill Belichick loves. If you guys haven't seen it, Bill got to work him out at the draft, and he was clearly just for fun. Bill just wanted to work with him and get his hands on him because he liked him, but you don't see that much. But if they like him and they like what they've seen, they have he's 1 year left on his deal. The Patriots have the money to extend him if they'd like to. Edge defender is not always a priority for them, but they like it if you can get a guy they've been willing to pay elite talent there. If you get a guy who they think that good, he's been a good run defender. And if you're looking for cost, a second in Josh Uche maybe,
right? Which.
And then you give him the extension, which is going to be $18-20 million a year, something like that for the next 4 or 5 years.
But then you have Judon and him.
And Judon's older. Like Judon only has a couple years left on his deal, so that means you got a guy in place. And you're asking a little bit less of Dietrich Wise, who the Bears definitely targeted him in some of these running situations when the Patriots went to their pass down personnel. They're running the QB power, the option right at him. And when Wise is a good player, but he can't do everything well. And Chubb is a guy who does more things well.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. So anyways, that's the trade market. We'll see what happens next week. It's next Tuesday, I think, right? Next Tuesday is the trade deadline. So
Wednesday. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens next week. For that, if they make any trades, I'm sure we'll have an instant reaction on that. But anyways, all right, let's get over to the defense. Okay, we'll get over to the defense, and it was really bad. I mean, just aggressively bad. That might be the worst offense in the league. That might be through 6 games. That might have been the worst offense in the league, and they didn't just score 33. They absolutely pounded the Patriots defense. I mean, they just made the Patriots defense look terrible. And
they had 5 consecutive scoring drives, all of them 30 yards or more, including a 75-yard touchdown drive.
Yeah, it's just brutal. And there were a few good plays in there. The touchdown pass to Herbert was a great call. It was, Peyton Manning, the clip of Peyton Manning flipping out because he's like, that's the perfect play. They have that's like the exact play you're looking for. And Fields made a really nice play to get Wise. I think it was Wise to get his hands up, or maybe it might have been Jennings. Either way, it doesn't matter. Whoever was coming in off the edge got his hand up to get in that passing lane, and Fields just made a nice play to pump fake it and then change the arm slot to get it over to him, right? And it ends up being a touchdown because it's against cover 0. There's nothing you can do, right? So it's a perfect storm type of play. But they got 250 yards rushing. Just unacceptable.
Yeah. It did feel like a perfect storm kind of game for the Bears offense. I don't want to you allowed 35 points at home to the Bears and got run out of your own building. So I'm not going to hand wave that. But also, the Bears came in with a game plan that is very different from anything they had done this season. Fields made a handful of plays that I don't think he's made in his career.
Right.
Like if you come into the game and you said that in the first half, you're going to force that many fumbles and Fields is going to miss on some. I mean, he dirted some throws for no reason in the first half and just totally missed on guys open in the flat. If you're like, all right, if he's going to come in and do all of that, if you said that, you're thinking we're winning this game pretty easily. Problem is they watched the film and they knew what the Patriots defense could not do when, and they pulled out a whole bunch of that stuff. Patriots still could not defend it, and clearly weren't prepared for Fields to do that because he's never done that in the NFL. This is the first time they've asked him to run the ball that much in one game. And every single 50-50 play is except for that one pick.
Right.
Bears made a play. I think back to that long third down conversion where Mac Wilson is a free rusher, and we can talk about him missing the sack on that, but I didn't mind it as much because Adrian Phillips is coming around as a spy, and it was okay. I think it was less about we obviously want the sack, but let's pressure him, force him off the spot, and we're going to have somebody coming from the other angle to spy, and he's going to have to make a throw. And that's the play last week where Kyle Duggar picks off Jacoby Brissett on the first drive, going for the tight end down, and he gets his head around. Well, McCourty doesn't get the head around. The ball fits in a tight window, and the tight end makes a catch that he didn't even think he was in bounds for.
Right. McCourty, by the way, also dropped an interception 2 plays before that. So,
and I think McCourty had a rough game.
Yeah.
I think Juwan Bentley had a rough game. That Harry catch, it was Bentley's zone, and he left it. That's all that is.
Right. Yeah, it's inexcusable stuff. And, I wonder, Barmore was out, and Brad mentioned that Barmore was out, and that's bad. But,
Guy came back.
Yeah, but, I is Lawrence Guy the problem? I don't know. They suck against the run with Lawrence Guy in the game. That's a fact.
Well, they were running the other way on a lot of these. I'll tell you that much. And they were holding Lawrence Guy. So I don't know if it's Guy. I think the real issue here is, Carl Davis and Devon Godshaw did not have good games, but they played about as well as they have. It's the second level guys. The linebackers did not fill as well as they should have. I thought Bentley and Tavai had probably their worst games of the season. Tavai was not hitting hard at all. The Bears tight ends were beating up the linebackers, blocking. And the Bears wide receivers were beating up the Pats defensive backs, blocking. And they're also, the Patriots were basically having a whole bunch of light boxes too, because the Bears had all the horizontal movement. It was kind of like that 49ers game a couple of years ago where you're just stretching a defense out horizontally. So you don't need the deep threat to get guys all across the field and spread out. And then you got numbers advantages for running. And it doesn't really matter if guys are making plays or not because they're so outnumbered. There's nothing you can really do. And it's why they say any given Sunday in the NFL. Because if you come out and you do something that the other team isn't ready for, and I don't mind that they weren't ready for it in the first half. I mind that they had nothing to adjust to in the second half.
I don't know. Maybe spy Justin Fields on every play. Yeah. How hard is that to do? Just spy him on every play and play cover one. That's not that difficult.
And the big play where they did
coverage.
Well, and the big play where they did that is that play down the sideline to Kmet, where they made a play. And I know there was another one where Fields took off where they had a cover one and a spy, but just because of the way the pressure came in, the spy can't get there. And it's just, it's the way football goes sometimes where it was not their night. Yeah, I will say, I think, yeah, which is where it's this game isn't that far off from what happened against the Lions. It's just one gets away from you and one doesn't, and one you get fourth down stops, the other one you can't get third down stops, and one of them you get picks, the other one the ball doesn't bounce into your arms. That's the difference. And this defense, you're missing Barmore and Duggar, who are your two big playmakers on defense, which I think showed.
The Bears.
Jack Jones made a nice play in the running game early on, though. I will give him credit for that.
Well, and they didn't throw towards him because they're not stupid. But I do. What's funny, I don't remember if it was you that said it. It might have been you guys, and I'm not sure where I heard it from. But the Chicago Bears tied their season high in third down conversions in the first half.
Yeah, that was
the first half. That's embarrassing. That's just
and so many of them were third and longs too.
Yeah.
Which also, it's you watch them back, and it was a whole lot of, it wasn't really guys making mistakes. It was just you can't really play a perfect defense. Like every defensive call has a weakness somewhere in it, and the Bears had something for it, and Fields made a play. And it's if you came into the game and said the Bears will only beat you if Justin Fields makes plays, you're gonna think to yourself, all right, Pats will probably win in this game. Well,
Right.
Fields made plays. Best game
One.
he's had in the pros yet.
Right. And now, you're going against the Jets this weekend. And I guess we have to talk about the game, even if it's only for
Yeah.
10 minutes, because
Yeah.
yes, go ahead.
Before we get to it, can I just do 1 minute on special teams here?
Oh my Lord.
Jake
Yes.
Bailey, what happened, man? What did you do this off? Like, are you clearly did you enjoy your offseason a little bit too much? Because you went from one of the best punters in the league, maybe the best punter in the league, to one of the worst overnight. And that's a contract they can't even dump next year. He's like
Right.
$4 million on the books next year. He's playing. He's on this team next year, so he's got to figure it out. Also, Jonnu Smith, learn how to block on a kickoff return. Mike Reese mentioned this, and I was noticing it too. That second Marcus Jones return, he's just standing there, not blocking anybody. Two guys go past him and tackle Marcus Jones.
Right.
Which that was on Raekwon McMillan too. He just watched his guy go by him and ran with him down the field, and it's just Marcus Jones was taking kicks out because clearly they thought they had something, and guys were not executing blocks. You can talk coaching all you want, but at a certain point, the players have to actually make the plays. I don't know why they weren't, but they just seemed not emotionally ready to play.
No, and ultimately it comes down to, and I mean, everyone knows how I feel about Marcus Jones. It ultimately comes down to the return man is responsible for one guy. The return man has to make one guy miss, and everybody else should be picked up. Like he should be able to get to one guy, and if he makes that one guy miss, he's able to get a good return. Now he's not going to take it to the house, but if he makes three guys miss, then maybe he scores.
Mm-hmm.
But if you make one guy miss, it's going to be a good return. He was making a guy miss, and he'd still get tackled by three guys. And it's just like, what are we doing? Like, you can't, it's crazy.
And the fact that he was routinely taking kicks out of the end zone tells me that the coaches identified something with the Bears that was like, we got to return kicks against them because we're going to get good plays here.
Right.
Either that or they felt really confident in their own kickoff return unit, and it just was not. I don't know what it is, but in all three phases, the team was just making really dumb plays, really bad mental mistakes. Not physical, not energized, and I don't know what the answer is to that. I don't know if that's coaching. I don't know if that's player evaluation. I don't know if somebody set off the fire alarm in the team hotel the night before. I don't know what it is, but
yeah,
it's the same way they looked week one.
Right.
They've had two games like that this year. That's it.
Yeah.
And now
we'll see.
Yeah. And you're up to 4 losses. And one of them, you're losing a quarterback in the middle of the game. And another one is on Mac. And the other two where the team did not show up.
Yeah.
You can't have that many losses that way.
Right. Well, and now you get to this weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're in New Jersey against the Jets. And this is the season. It's the season on Sunday. If you lose this game, your season's over, right? And they got 9 games left. There'll be 3 games back of the Jets with the Jets having beat them. The probability, the likelihood of them coming back after that is slim to none, and slim left town. It's not happening. So you have to win on Sunday if you have any aspirations of making a run later on in the season. You have to win on Sunday, and realistically, you have to win the next 3 games, right? You have to win the next 3.
Probably more than that. I mean,
for sure.
The insurance for this team is out the window.
That's correct.
Basically, their margin of error at this point is the 2 Bills games. You can lose the 2 Bills games, and you got to do everything else right.
Right. And that's, it's one because you're at 4 losses right now, right? And so you can finish 10-7. Maybe there's another loss in there somewhere, right? Maybe it's Cincinnati on Christmas Eve or something like that. But
Arizona, NFC loss, that won't hurt as much.
Yeah, very true. Very true. So those are the things you have to go out and win these games. And it starts against the Jets, and the Jets are flying high at 5-2. They look like they're a legitimate, good football team. They look like they're a good football team. Now we can talk about how Green Bay stinks, and we can talk about how,
Denver's awful.
right. We can talk about all that stuff. That's fine. We can talk about that stuff. That's fine. We keep getting spam messages. It's really pissing me off. But we can talk about that stuff. But ultimately, it doesn't yeah, fine. That's fine. You played Green Bay and lost. So you can talk about how those teams suck, but they beat the doors off of Green Bay and you lost to Green Bay, right? So they didn't beat the doors off, but they beat them, right? And so we can talk about whatever you want, but the fact is they're 5-2 and you're 3-4, right? And you're going on the road to try to beat the Jets, who are flying high. Now they were without their number one running back, which hurts, of course. They are without one of their starting offensive linemen, in Elijah Vera Tucker, who was a first-round pick last year. That also hurts. But still, Zach Wilson's coming back. He's finally kind of rounding into form, and then this is third game back. So he's going to be healthier now. It's a tough game, man. And they're playing. I think this is the best defense they've seen so far this year.
Yeah, and that's what scares me. This Jets offense doesn't bother me. Zach Wilson has been horrendous under pressure this year. One of the truly abysmal. And if you're able to, if they can stop the run on early downs, and it's the same recipe we've been talking about, stop the run on early downs and force Zach Wilson to have to beat you through the air, you're probably getting 2 picks off of him. The way things have gone this year, and you're probably getting a lot of 3-and-outs or a lot of 2 first-down drives. And that's going to be, or the defense can do it. What my concern is that the Jets have Quinnen Williams, who's a very good defensive tackle in the middle, who's going to go up against a rookie in Cole Strange and probably James Ferentz at center, which that scares me.
Yeah.
And on the outside, the Jets have Sauce Gardner, who might be the only corner as good or better than Jack Jones as a rookie this year. I mean, he has been shut down. So it's one of those positions, this offense, it's going to be a team effort on offense this week. And you might only need to get 10 points to win this one, depending on how things go on the other side of the ball. But you need to make it happen. You can't have the self-inflicted wounds this week. You just can't do it. If you have plays and drives where you're having a tough time moving the ball, you can live with it. If it's Quinnen Williams and you're going to have backups, you got to fight through it. You got to stay tough mentally. You got to know that this is going to be a brutal drag them out type of game with probably very low scoring. And that means you have to avoid making the costly error. You can't make a play that loses this game, because the Jets will do it to themselves if you give Zach Wilson enough opportunities.
Right. Well, really, right. What it comes down to is turnovers. Got to win the turnover battle, and the mental errors, like you said, you can't have them. They can't happen. You can't be holding. You can't be tripping. You can't be false starts. You can't have that crap. It can't happen.
No,
and it sounds stupid.
Can't have drops.
Right.
Have guys running the wrong route.
Correct. And it sounds dumb, but it's fundamental football. Mm-hmm. And this is something that the Patriots have always been better than other teams at. That's why when they play teams like the Jets, you know they're going to win, because the Jets are going to make stupid mistakes and the Patriots aren't.
You're playing with a weighted coin when you do all the little things right.
Correct. Right. And now that's not the case. That's not the case anymore. They don't take care of the football as well as they used to. They have stupid penalties all the time. Mm-hmm. So, you don't have those smart plays that you make anymore. And that's tough. It's now it narrows the field already. And then you don't have the talent you used to have either. So now it's okay, the field is even more narrow than it used to be. So it's going to be really tough. I think it's a tough game, but ultimately you got to hope that they win this game. And again, this is it. This is the only one, right? Yeah. I will say, and Brad's talking about, I think it's interesting. He lives in the WFAN market and they're not afraid of the Pats, which I think is funny that they're not, and they shouldn't be. They should be pretty confident right now. Yeah. And they are, which is good. That Breece Hall injury is tough for them, because I know Michael Carter's a good player. Yeah. I know Michael Carter's a good player, but he's not Breece Hall. And so, he's been playing his ball.
They got James Robinson now. They made that move to go get him, which he's fine. Like
Yeah.
he's an NFL running back. They're not going out there with somebody they
Right.
just brought up from the practice squad.
Correct. Yes.
It's not DeAndre Swift or Nick Chubb on the other side, but it is a real football player. Um, one thing I thought was interesting. I was playing around with some of the advanced stats today, and I noticed this Jets defense gets a lot worse throughout the downs. But the Jets defense is one of the best defenses in the NFL on first down, and then they are mediocre on second down, and then they are awful on third down. And then the Patriots offense is on first and second downs. And this is all like early in the game stuff, trying to filter out weird stuff at the end of games.
Yeah.
First two downs, they're the second worst offense in football, but then on third down, they are the second best offense in
Of
football.
course, it makes no sense.
So I have a feeling on offense, what this is going to come down to is a whole lot of, all right, it's going to be first and 10, and then second and 10, and then third and 8. And can the Patriots actually still make a play there and take advantage of a Jets defense that hasn't played well, which if you can have some of those slow clock killing drives too, that probably works in your favor here.
Yeah, 100%. And, I think Damian Harris is going to be, you'll use him more on Sunday. I think, here's a guy who they said he was going to miss like 4 or 5 weeks and he missed one. So, with a hamstring too.
Last week.
Yeah. And with a hamstring injury, you're kind of like, okay, I'm a little bit nervous that he's going to be, but it seems like he'll be the guy, he'll be more involved. You would think he'll be more involved. And so we'll see. But, you would think that he'll be more involved than he was on Monday night. So,
and then I didn't think he looked that good on Monday night either.
No.
So it's one of those where you want him to play a little bit better, play with confidence, which one thing I will give this team credit for is the double-edged sword of the inconsistency too. They bounce back well from losses. They usually don't get too down on themselves, and they usually come out kind of fired up. So it would not shock me to see the Patriots go into the Jets and to MetLife and end up killing them. Wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if they go down there, Mac throws 3 picks, and you get killed. Like there's nothing that would surprise me with this team.
Man, if that happens,
I might not come back on the podcast.
It's gonna be bad if that happens. So
yeah,
but
I am gonna be at this game. So
really?
Hopefully I make it back in one piece. From
that's exciting.
That's exciting. Be rocking my Judon jersey with the red sleeves. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So it sounds like then me and Barrett will be doing the Barrett will be back for the post game show, but you'll be off and I'll be in.
Yeah, so we'll be doing a little rotation here. Keep it interesting for the.
Look who it is. Look who stopped by.
Oh, Keegan.
What's up, Keegan? Hi, Mr. Lane, he says. But listen, man, it's a massive game. It's the game of the season. This is it. This determines whether you win, whether you are able to make a run later in the season. And of course, like you said, I mean, they don't have a margin for error, but it starts today. If they lose today, that's it. That's it. You know what I mean? You're 3-5, 3 games back, 3 games back from the New York Jets. 3 games back from the New York Jets. Think about that for a second. Basically guaranteed to finish in last place in the AFC East, which is just not a place you want to be.
Can I give an uplifting stat here?
Yes, you can. Let's hear it.
That I hope to God that this is not a jinx. I'm going to knock on wood before I even say it. The Patriots have won, if I can count correctly, 12 straight against the Jets.
Yeah.
The last time that they lost to the Jets was that overtime game in 2015 where the Patriots played the Wind in overtime.
Yes, that's right. Right around Christmas time.
Yep, 2 days later. That was the year where they lost 4 of the last 6 games when the team got injured and really fell apart.
And they went down to Miami with Steven Jackson and ran 87 times for 0 yards.
Run, punt.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And then their last loss to the Jets before that was the game with the pushing penalty in overtime with the kick.
Yep. We talked about that on the show. Was that last week we talked about that on the show? 2 weeks ago.
Something like that, yeah. So the last time the Patriots lost a game in regulation to the New York Jets was the playoff game in the divisional round in 2010 at home.
Jesus.
And the last time they lost the game in regulation at MetLife was the game earlier that year. They lost 28-14. I believe that's the game with a picture of Moss over Revis going like that. I think that's where that picture comes from.
Really? In a
I
loss?
believe
Huh?
so. I believe so. Yeah, 'cause I think that was early on in that one. I could
Yeah.
be wrong on that.
You might
But
be right,
that
though.
was, I
Certainly
think
might
that
be
was
right.
week. I think that was week 2 of the season.
Yeah. It's, man, it's been a long time. Now, of course, the Patriots hadn't lost to the Bears in like 20 years. So, like, it was a little same type of
None of this.
thing. You know
None
what
of
I
this
mean?
means anything.
Of
Like the
course. Right.
play. Nobody from that. Well, I would say nobody from the last time that they lost to the Jets at MetLife in regulation is still around. But Nick Folk was on that Jets team.
So, well,
One player is still around.
there you go. He's on the wrong team
Oh,
now, or the right team.
that's 2010. So McCourty would have been there then,
Good
and
point.
Slater. So
Yep.
that might be it.
Yeah. But,
I don't know. I don't know what Brandon Tate is doing these days.
well, yeah, not much probably. But I mean, look, ultimately, like I say, it comes down to that, and it sounds so dumb. It's fundamental football. It's not anything special. It's not anything sexy. It's just don't
Mhm.
be stupid.
Yeah.
Don't be stupid. If you're not stupid, you win the game. If you play stupid, you lose the game. Right. And it's nothing more than that. It's nothing. Oh, Max got to come out. No, it's nothing more than that. It's just don't make dumb mistakes. Don't turn the ball over. And if you do that, you'll win, because if you don't make those dumb mistakes and you don't have the bad penalties, the Jets will in turn make those dumb mistakes for you, and you will beat the Jets because the Jets will beat themselves. Right. And it will happen if you allow it to happen. You got to obviously you got to play good defense. I mean, you have to play well, but you can't play stupid. Right. And if you do that, you're going to win.
And this kind of goes back to what we've been talking about in general too, about like stacking the good performances.
Mm-hmm.
You had really bad run days against the Ravens and the Packers, and then you had really good run days against the Browns and the Lions. And you put it all together, and the question is, did they turn a corner then and figure something out, or did they just play different teams and learn how to play against them? And right now, it looks like the latter.
Yeah.
Can you learn? And I don't think they're running QB counter or QB power with Zach Wilson back there. I don't think they're doing it with Sam Ellinger the next week.
No.
So the Patriots probably won't have to deal with an offense like that until they play the Bills, which I don't want to think about right now.
Nope.
But this should give you a couple of weeks now where the defense can play an offense that fits their style a little bit better.
Right. I agree. And Zach Wilson can run, but he's not. They're not going to call runs for him necessarily.
Yeah, it's a different style.
So it's a very different style. So we'll see. We shall see. I have to say, man, I met Jelani Tavai, and I told him he played well, and then he played like crap on Monday night. Like, come on, dude. Like, I finally can meet him and congratulate him, and then he plays like crap. Like, he's just like, that's like a personal attack on me. He said, "You know what, Pat Lane? I know I met you. You said some nice things. I'm gonna make you look stupid for saying some nice things to me." Like,
I've been out here trying to go to bat for him, telling everybody, "Hey, you're saying his name wrong." And you meet him in person, and you find out the pronunciation on the Patriots site that he is saying isn't. It's just Tavai is his last name.
Yeah, strange. So, nevertheless, it is what it is. So we'll see what happens. Huge game, massive game of the season. Do or die. Win or go home.
Are we doing your little?
Oh, we are.
Here?
Oh, don't worry. Oh, we are.
Okay. I'm frantic. I just found one. I was frantically going through Pro Football Reference looking for something.
I have two. So don't worry.
Do you want to go one and then I'll go one and then you go?
Yeah, let's do it. I like that.
Right.
So here we go.
And now for something we think you'll really like. This week in sports history.
All right. So in this week in sports history, as I said, I have two of them. I'll start with the one from long ago. And it is Rocky Marciano. What's today? October 26th. October 26th, 1951. Rocky Marciano beating former champion Joe Louis by TKO in the 8th round at Madison Square Garden. October 26th, 1951. A big dub.
Right down the road from me here.
A big dub for the state of Massachusetts. One that we need right now, frankly.
Yeah.
All right, what do you
Mine,
got?
we're going. It's going kind of week of here today. When is today? The 20.
6.
So it is the 26th. All right, I actually did get this right on the day that we are recording this. October 26th, 2014. The Patriots absolutely obliterated the Chicago Bears 51-23
Oh man, what a
at
game
Gillette
that was.
Stadium. It's the last time they beat him at Gillette. That one was really just a good day for the tight ends. Gronk touchdown, Tim Wright touchdown, Gronk touchdown, and then that Gronk touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
That one.
That
You already
guy,
know which one.
that was one hell of a game.
Yeah.
That's the one
That
where
was-
he came off and he's like on the sprawled out on the bench, like just chilling. Like, oh my god, dude.
Patriots
Smoke.
scored 31 points in the second quarter.
Yeah. Smoking Joe Cutler's on the sideline, like, whatever, no big deal. Don't worry about it, you know?
Yeah.
Brutal. Yeah, that was a beatdown.
What's your last one?
So my last one comes from October 26th / October 27th
All
of
right.
2018.
All right.
The Boston Red Sox lost Game 3 at Dodger Stadium in 18 innings. The game went 7 hours and 20 minutes, and they lost on a walk-off home run. It was the only game of the series that they would lose. They would go on to win 4-1.
That game is the epitome of losing the battle to win the war.
Yes, 100%. And my buddy was out. My buddy was out in LA for something, and I'm not sure what he was out there for, but it doesn't matter. He was out there in LA with some of his buddies, and he's like, "The Sox are playing. Let's get some tickets." So they got like decent seats. They paid more than they should have. But they're like, "It's a World Series game. What are you gonna do?" They stayed the whole game. They stuck it out. They lasted the whole 7 hours, which, like, yeah, I mean, I realized it went to like 3:00 in the morning. It doesn't matter. You have to stay. It's a World Series game. You can't leave a World Series game. And he stayed the whole time, and he said it was an absolute blast. He had so much fun, like in the stands, just like talking and hanging and watching the game. And he's like, it was great. And he's like, obviously they lost, which stinks, but like it didn't matter. Like we had a great time. And I'm like, being at that game is so cool. And of course, you don't get to see them win a World Series game, but still to be at that World Series game is pretty cool. Yeah. And so,
I remember that was, I think, a Friday night or Saturday night or something. And I was in college, and we watched the game, and then it gets late, and it's all right. We'll go out. We'll go hang out with friends. I remember one of my buddies and I have to send this to him because I'll remember this. We were in somebody's room, and it's a college party, like, you know what's going on, but the TV is on and the Red Sox game is on, and we're all huddled around it watching it, even though we're there.
I love it.
And then like we're out until 2 a.m. The game's just still going. We go back to the room. It's all right. We're staying up. We're finishing this. Like we're in this. We're going out. We're going for the whole thing.
It was a Friday night. I just look back. It was a Friday night.
Nate Eovaldi.
Oh man, just an absolute warrior. Just a warrior in that game. And it's funny because it's almost like you would think that game turns the tide of the series, and it did. But for the Red Sox, you know what I mean? It's just it's kind of funny. So
they were able to. What was it, after that? They actually had rested pitchers, and the Dodgers didn't have anybody.
Right. You know, so. But yeah, it's one of those games that's like, oh my god, what a memorable game that one was. So anyway, so that's what we got for this week in sports history. So people, enjoy the game on Sunday. I swear to God, I don't care how Mac Jones plays. I don't care how Mac Jones plays on Sunday. If you bring that weak ass shit to Gillette Stadium and you're booing Mac Jones and you're chanting Bailey Zappi's name, I will end you. I will end you. Do not do that.
Yeah. By and large, you don't get to pick which players you're
correct.
Or you're rooting for the laundry here.
That is correct. Do not do that to your starting quarterback. Do not do that to your starting quarterback.
It would not be one of these podcasts if I didn't get one uniform note in. It's Halloween weekend, and the Jets are breaking out their new black helmets. They're going to be in head to toe black, which they've worn more black than green this season. I don't know if they have figured out what their own colors are.
Well, so you know what's funny about that is that I played Madden 21, I guess, last year's Madden, And I was in like an online league and stuff, which I don't have time for anymore. But I was in an online league, and I was the Seahawks, and I ended up getting bumped from the league mistakenly. So then I had to take over the Jets. So I took over the Jets, and every time I played a Jets game, I wore the all black, the black uniforms, black pants, black helmet. And everyone was like, those are the ugliest uniforms ever. And I'm like, I don't care. This is what I'm wearing. And I would wear it. And they're like, it's not even a real thing. And I'm like, I don't care. This is the uniform. And they're wearing those uniforms on Sunday, which I'm like, see, I told you it was a uniform.
And it's the new black helmet. So we'll see how that looks.
Yeah.
Like another note on this, the Patriots, since the Jets unveiled this new uniform set in 2019, they have not played a game against New England wearing like the green jerseys over the white pants.
That's
hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
They've played them in the black jerseys now twice, the green jerseys once when they went all green. And it's basically been all white. So the Jets are a mess usually, and they don't know what their own colors are. Patriots got the silver pants back this week too. I don't know. We might never see those again.
Well, that was going to be my note. If we never see the silver pants because of Monday night, I'm going to be very upset because that looked
so good,
billion times better than their normal, all blue.
I will go on the record and say that might be the best that the franchise has ever looked, in my opinion. I like the red uniforms. I like the navy better.
Yeah, I like the red. I know, the whole red coach thing and everything like that. I get it. But I think that's the classic Brady look. I do think that it just makes sense. Like, why are you wearing all blue? What are you doing? Like, wear the silver pants. They look a million times better.
I don't mind the all blue every once in a while, but it doesn't feel like if you want to do it for a big game or something, or like a nighttime game and you want to do something special, but it doesn't feel special when you do it every week.
Yeah, the silver pants should be the home normal. Yeah. That should be the home normal, and the blue pants should be the away normal. Like, I don't see what the problem is.
I'd like to see what the silver pants look like on the road. I'd be intrigued by that because I think that could also look pretty good.
Well, did they wear silver during the Brady era? They wore silver pants, did they not? On the road?
Nope.
No, they wore blue on the road. Okay.
They have, in the Brady era, that era of uniforms, they wore blue pants basically every single game on the road if they're wearing those jerseys, except for the Color Rush game at Tampa in 2017 when they wore the white pants.
Yeah.
But they've never gone white over silver in this era. They did the silver, white, silver with the royal blues back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Which I think looks good. So
yeah,
I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind. It does say on the style guide, pants are interchangeable with the jerseys. It makes
there
that
you go.
note. So
there you go. You never know. So, but I hope we see the silver pants more because I hate the blue on blue. So and again, like you say, once in a while, fine. But like as your everyday, come on, like just get out of here with that. So
yeah.
Anyways, all right, got to get some uniform talk in there. That's the way it goes. So we fit everything in. We fit everything in.
What happens when you add me to the show? You didn't know what you were signing up for.
Hey, man, that's okay. We got a little fashion style in here. We hit everything. I got the bitch about the fans. We got to talk about the terrible game on Monday. We previewed the Jets.
Facts.
We got weird facts going on. We got, uniform stuff. We fit it all in an hour and a half. It's a long one, but it's a good one. And hopefully the Patriots will play a good one on Sunday, and we'll be talking about them, trying to make a run next week at this time. But enjoy the game, Matt. Enjoy the game.
I make it out alive.
I'm sure you will. The fans over there are fine. Like, they're not, who knows? We'll see. We'll see
how they are this season. The team actually has a winning record at this point, so it might be a different energy in that building.
You would think. But also, if the Patriots lose, you would think you're more likely to get in a fight if the Patriots win and kill them than you would if the Jets kill them.
You'd be surprised what alcohol can do to people.
That's very true. That is very true. But anyways, so hopefully they're happy drunks. Not too happy, but hopefully
pleasant.
Happy-ish. Exactly. So anyways, thank you for people in the comments, Brad and Keegan and whoever another lost soul is as well. So and one of my students as well said hello right at the beginning, so appreciate that. One of my former students actually. So anyways, that's it. That's our episode for tonight. We appreciate that, and we'll be back with you. I will at least be back with you for our instant reaction podcast after the game on Sunday. Have a great week, guys.